Just before we get started and I hand over to Will, just to let people know that the session is being recorded and that will be made available to you. You'll also be sent a request for feedback with that recording. We'd be ever so grateful if you could complete that. For us, it really helps kind of shape future sessions. This is something new for us. We're really pleased with how many people are joining as well. So it would be useful to know whether it's something you'd like us to develop in the future. In terms of Q&A, Dan said if you would like to note these in the Q&A box or the chat facility throughout the session, just jot them down as and when you think of them. He will take them at the end of the session. And lastly, just to make you aware, we'll have a 5-minute break at around 1 o'clock. Right. Thankfully, now I'm able to pass over to our sponsor for today's session, Will Webster from Chadwick Knott. Thanks, both.
Hello, everybody. Just so I'm aware, so you're going to be controlling these slides for me, are you?
Correct.
Excellent. All right. Well, you can hear my voice, but you can't see me. So hello, everybody. My name's Will. I'm from Chadwick Knott. I've been having technical difficulties all morning, so bear with me. But as long as I'm coming through loud and clear, I'll just do a quick, brief 5 minutes. As a sponsor, I get my 5 minutes, so I'm going to make the most of it. Just quickly explain who I am, and also Chadwick Knott and what we do, etc., etc. For those of you who don't know, Chadwick Knott are a legal recruitment. We only do legal recruitment. We're not a full service recruitment agency. We only do legal. I do anything from, well, myself and my colleague Liam, there's two of us on the Southeast team. I'll come to that in a minute. We do anything from sort of newly qualified up to partner level, advising across the UK and some international locations as well. So myself and my colleague, like I mentioned, Liam Andrews, we cover the Southeast. So that's anything from, hence the Surrey Law Society, of course. So that includes Surrey, Berkshire, Oxfordshire, the Sussexes, Hampshire and Kent. So most of those sort of home counties, except the northern ones, and ones I'm sure you're all very familiar with. So yeah, full range of law firms in those areas as well. From sort of legal 500 to sort of high street to boutique firms to consultancy based outfits. There's very few we don't work with, or at least are trying to work with at some stage. So yes, you can be assured that there'll be global and international firms in there, national firms, and various others. So we also do permanent and interim recruitment as well. So myself, I do very much sort of the permanent side, like I say, NQ to partner. But then we do have people who do sort of contingency recruitment for locums, contractors. We also have a couple of people in the Southeast and also the wider UK dealing with paralegal and legal secretary and support roles. So there really isn't many things that a law firm would need on the support side and the qualified side that we can't assist with. So whether it's a search that on behalf of yourself, or whether you are looking for somebody, maybe you just want some market information, maybe you want to know what the latest salary offerings are. I can't name names specifically, but I can give you a brief overview of kind of what the market is saying. I'm always open to having a conversation and seeing what we can do to assist, whether it's your personal search or whether you're looking for somebody for your team. So yeah, we've been doing it for about 30 years now. So like I say, there's not many people we don't have some sort of level of contact with or rapport with. So again, feel that we are best placed out of most recruiters in the Southeast, both in terms of the amount of years we've been doing it and the expertise we have within it, to assist the search, no matter what that may be. So we obviously support the Surrey Law Society. We support regional law societies across the UK, particularly in the South West and the Southeast, some in the Midlands as well. So law societies, junior lawyer divisions as well. We also sponsor and work with those, so we try and remain as active as possible. I myself was on a nice trip up the Thames on Friday, which was great. I'm sure perhaps some of you were there. So again, we like to get around. We like the face-to-face element where possible, and obviously joining these things is obviously a bonus as well. So that's pretty much me. So if there is anything, thank you, Helen. There you go. You can see me now. That's me. Obviously looking much better in black and white than in, so it's probably actually better, to be honest. But you can see there's my details there. Feel free to reach out to me on any of those. Connection requests on LinkedIn are also always welcome. So yes, I hope that's covered just about everything. Now, more importantly, moving past that, obviously as the chair, I'd just like to just quickly explain a little bit about today's course. So obviously we've got Dan here. I'm not going to explain too much about Dan. I'm sure he's best placed to explain more about himself than I ever could. So Dan's here to assist us with 5 key principles for highly profitable delegation for law firm owners and partners. So this online course is one of a number of training courses available to Surrey Law Society members. You can view forthcoming events and training on the screen and on the website. Should attendees like to ask questions during the session, obviously Dan said he was, putting some time aside. So obviously, if you have any ideas, put those down. He will then be doing this intermittently throughout the session. So ensure you unmute before speaking, because obviously we won't be able to know, as the old adage goes. Alternatively, you can use the chat box in Microsoft Teams to control, and you can then be called out by Dan. There will be a quick 5-minute break at 1 p.m. Obviously, this is a fairly lengthy session, but I'm sure there's lots to cover, and I'm sure it's all going to be very interesting. And then, obviously, as Helen mentioned, the course will be recorded and will be made available to members after the event as well, so you won't miss anything. So very much over to you now, then, Dan. I've given the sort of brief for it, but I'm sure you've got plenty to say, and yeah, over to you. Let us know what it's all about.
Thanks so much for the kind introduction, and it's really great to be here. The Surrey Law Society has got a great name for itself, so it's an honor to me to be able to share with you my life's work and what I do. So let's go for it. I need to share my screen first. There we go. Okay, you able to see my screen? The challenge I've got is when I'm sharing my screen, I cannot. You can't. Okay, brilliant. Okay, fantastic. All right. So here we are, the 5 key principles to highly profitable delegation for law firm owners and partners. So this is me, Dan Warburton, and I eat, breathe, sleep, increasing law firm owners' profit and reducing their workload. This is all that I do. And if I wanted to start with this, if you go on the LexisNexis website, you can see their 2023 sort of study of the UK legal sector, and the top 5 challenges facing small law firms, as is stated, are these: attracting new business, keeping working practices and systems up to date, retaining current clients, continuing demands of compliance and regulations, and cybersecurity. And when I saw this, I was a little bit shocked, because I have this statement for you. Law firm owners are some of the most disciplined people in the world. Would you guys agree with me? And I'm wondering here if I can open up the window so I can see you all at the same time. I can't. I can either only ever share my screen or see you guys. But give me a thumbs up now if you agree with me that law firm owners are some of the most disciplined people in the world. I would say absolutely. Like, what does it take to become a law firm owner? My goodness, all those years of studying, they're getting qualified, all your time through being an associate, and then billing enough hours to make it as partner. I mean, it's an understatement that you guys are disciplined. You're extremely disciplined. So with that in mind, I wanted to ask this. With such discipline, which can be solved? Attracting new business? I'd say so. Keeping working practices up to date? I'd say so. Retaining current clients? Absolutely, can't be that difficult. And if it is, you can always go and find an expert to go and help solve it, right? Continuing demands for compliance regulations, you could solve that, absolutely. And what about cybersecurity? Absolutely, it can be solved. Yet, why are they still such challenges for so many law firms? This was what, blew my mind. And over the years of working with law firm owners, what I've come to find out is the reason is this: because law firm owners are not available to solve them. And it's because of this. They're in the law technician's valley of doom. So all of my clients that came to me before working with me, and including a gentleman that looked a lot like this that contacted me about 6 months ago wanting help, was in what I call the law technician's valley of doom. So he'd spent his life building his firm, and he got to the point where he was leading a team of 50, but he couldn't go on holiday without bringing his laptop. So he had to continue working. And basically his firm still relied on him to be profitable. And because of that, he was doing a lot of billing work, and he had a lot of the other partners and the other members wanted his attention, wanted his time to grow and learn in their position, but they couldn't, because they couldn't get enough of his attention to learn what it was that he knew, and he wasn't basically showing them how to do what it was that he does. So he was ending up painted into a corner, and he couldn't see a way out, and he was exhausted and tired, and he only had two options. Either he could carry on working exhausting hours until the day he physically couldn't, or he would have to go into some kind of merger and then work his way out and never really gain the money that he deserved for his life's work. And I see this time and time again. So I want you to get this. The skill that enables a law firm owner to build a highly profitable firm while reducing their workload is profitable delegation. Once you learn this skill, you'll be astounded at the level of financial success and lifestyle that becomes available to you. And so by implementing what you'll learn today, you'll be able to increase your associates' billable hours without micromanaging, manage people with strategies that are proven to be profitable, build a team that works hard to ensure your firm's success, and reduce your heavy workload and gain time for the work you enjoy, and increase your profits and reduce the hours you need to work. So that's what you're going to be able to do if you implement everything I show you today. But how did I arrive at this? And I feel I need to give you a bit of context, because I'm sure that some of you are sitting there thinking, am I in the right place? Should I be doing something else? So I just want to reassure you with a few key things here. So I've got over 20 years experience in participating in leadership and management training, and I've traveled all over the world and learning management leadership from some top people around the world. And through implementing all this, I've managed to build a few businesses quite successfully. And then people started to ask me, how are you doing this? And now I've coached and worked with over 1,000 entrepreneurs made of all sorts of business owners from all different sectors. And then I wrote an Amazon bestseller. It went to #1. And I've been invited to speak to audiences all over the world about my strategies and how they work and how they've increased so many of my clients' profits. And I then did this program, salesprocess.io, 2 years ago. Well, longer than that, over 3 years ago now. And they asked me to list out all the clients who got the best results from working with me. And it was clear that it was law firm partners and owners who got the best results. So because of that, I made this my commitment and my dedication. And I've discovered it's because in the legal sector, at no point through the academic training, being an associate or being a partner, our law firm owners taught how to use management and leadership skills to delegate their workload away, which enables them to greatly increase their profits whilst reducing their workload. And so based on that, that is my background. That's everything that I've studied and learned. So in this sector, I'm really enjoying seeing, law firm owners learn this and gain such results. And here's just a few slides just to give you a few examples. One client here, so that's before and then after, made an extra 192,041 extra revenue. That's with just a solo practitioner who then took on her first 2 employees. This was another one. We compared last 6 months of 2021, last 6 months of 2022. They made $707,794 extra profit. That was between 2 partners, which is £596,734 in 6 months. So this stuff really works. Here's another one. She went from sort of 13,600 one month, 16,420. That's revenue, not profit. But then after that, through implementing all of this, you can see the increase: 53,000, 73,000, 58,000, and so on. So this stuff really works. And I felt that I needed to share this with you so that you don't let yourself drift off and stay with it and take notes and really implement what I'm going to show you, because it really does work. So I'm now trusted by several legal sector clients, and yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. And I've written this book now, and it's in the final stages of going through the publisher's processes. And at the end, I'll show you how you can get a copy. And so this is what we're going to be covering today. This is the heart of the book. Team loyalty, number 2, team responsibility, 3, request accountability, 4, delegation structures, and 5, acknowledgement. So let's go for it. Team loyalty. For a law firm to become highly profitable, its primary focus must not be making a profit, but providing extraordinary service. In other words, if you're always trying to push your team members to bill as much as possible all the time, and that's your only focus, then what's happening is the client isn't being sure, or you're not being sure that the client is leaving every interaction with your firm completely delighted with what you're offering. So the focus must be extraordinary service. How many clients can you provide an extraordinary service to on your own? So let's look at this. If you're a law firm partner and you charge, for instance, let's keep the numbers really round and simple. Let's say you're charging £500 an hour. In that 1 hour that you work, you can bring in £500 for your firm. And at the same time, you can't do anything else. Now, if you had a team of 10 associates, each billing, say, half of that, £250 an hour, in that 1 hour, your firm is billing out £2,500. Even if you took out their wages, that's over £2,000 for that 1 hour. And the law firm owner is free to focus on solving all those challenges we saw, as well as business development, recruiting, and everything else. So doesn't it make sense that we're able to impact the lives of many more people if we manage others effectively in groups to do that together at the same time than if we do it on our own? It makes sense, doesn't it? So why is establishing a loyal team so important? Well, the truth is that unless you have a loyal team, you don't really have anything. You end up being this leader that's scratching the walls, trying to get people to cooperate, trying to get people to hit their billing targets. And if they don't feel loyal towards you, it's just a headache. You can't get people to cooperate. So the law firm owners and partners who are earning truly satisfying levels of profit while having time to focus on what matters to them are supported by a team of loyal people. And this is it. They basically have a team of people that they rely on to do what's requested of them and to deliver a high standard of work, even when they're not around. And the only way that happens is when the team feel loyal towards a law firm owner's or partner's ambitions and visions for the firm. So what is loyalty? So it was defined as this in the Oxford Dictionary: the quality of being loyal, his extreme loyalty to the crown, or a strong feeling of support or allegiance. I'm just going to see here. It's very different presenting on. Let me see here. Okay, I'll just go for it. I'll work with it. Let me go back to here. So how can you see if your team members are loyal to you? So 1, they demonstrate a genuine effort to be an asset to your firm. They hit deadlines and fulfill the request you make of them. And they leave you feeling supported in achieving your vision and your firm's targets. If you have that happening, then you have a loyal team. And if you haven't, then it's likely that you don't. So here's an example. Vanessa, she came to me 2 years ago, and she was exhausted because her team members, they often came in late. They always wanted to work from home. They never wanted to come into the office. They weren't appreciative of their billing targets. And she was really frustrated that they kept not supporting her and in achieving the firm's visions as such. And fundamentally what it was is they just didn't feel loyal towards her and fulfilling her visions. And as we worked together, we solved that. But you could see that what was causing them to not perform at a high level was simply that they just didn't feel loyal towards the firm's visions and Vanessa's visions. So she kept feeling let down. Okay, so how can you gain loyalty from your team members? So number 1, listening with the aim to leave whoever is speaking feeling heard and respected. So this is number 1. So if you find yourself advising and telling people what to do, then it's likely that what's missing is first listening, because most people just want to feel heard with their challenges, what they've got going on. And once they feel heard, it's then much easier, or they feel much more at ease in then taking advice or guidance or listening to instruction. If somebody doesn't feel heard or listened to, it's very difficult to then have them cooperate or be able to make a request of them that gets carried out. 2, doing what you say you will do and by when you say you will do it. So that's an obvious one. And we're going to go into depth with all of these. And 3, stand for and practice a no gossiping policy across your firm. So we'll get into this. We're going to get into depth with all these 3 for section 1. So when in conversation, listening is not trying to be right or prove a point. It's as simple as that. Assuming that how something seems to you seems in the same way to others. You must remember, even though you have a perception of how something is or how something is being done in the firm, if somebody has a different idea about it, both of your ideas are legitimate. They're both your ideas, they're both your perceptions, and it might be that one is truthful and one is not, or both of them are truthful or both of them are not truthful, but that's besides the point. Everybody has a different way that things seem to them, and if we respect that, enables us to just listen to them and get in their world. Number 3, being more concerned about impressing instead of supporting. So if you're worried about what people think of you, that you need to make sure that you've always got the answer, that you always know what you're doing, then what happens is that will cause you to be in your thoughts and worrying rather than just listening to them and getting what they're saying. As they speak, be thinking about something else. So that's an obvious one. Be waiting for them to stop speaking so you can make a point. This is a classic, especially in a heated discussion. They're saying whatever they're saying, and you're just thinking, as soon as they stop, I'm going to say this and I'm going to be right. If you're doing that, then naturally that's not listening, right? And replying to try and impress or sound clever, we've covered that one. So listening is the practice that builds loyalty. So you've really got to be getting what listening is and practicing this. So when in conversation, what is listening? When your main objective is to leave them feeling heard and respected. This is where you put all your concerns, all your worries aside, and you're completely present with that individual, and you're looking to support them to solve whatever it is that they've got going on. It's that intention that comes across to them and has them feel heard. Being more interested in leaving them feeling important than you impressing them. This is key. Number 3, being interested to see how you can help them. So we've covered that one. And being so present that all your day-to-day concerns disappear. Now, this might seem difficult, especially as a law firm owner. I know you've got so much on and serious demands and responsibilities. However, the only way that we're truly listening is when we disappear in listening in that moment, with that person. And that's where people feel really heard, because we're not looking around the room, we're not thinking about anything else. And 5, replying in a way that clearly demonstrates you are listening. So if somebody says, I haven't hit my targets because my system just keeps breaking down, what we would say to that is, okay, I get it. I get that you feel you haven't hit your targets because the system keeps breaking down. When you say that, they feel heard and they feel like their experience of the challenge, the problem they've got going on has been acknowledged by you. They will then openly listen to whatever suggestion you have after that. If instead of that you say, rubbish, we've got great technology, it's all working fine, all you need to do is ... whatever you say will more than likely just go over their head and they won't listen. If an associate or colleague has concerns, they will rarely fully cooperate until they feel their concerns have been heard and acknowledged. So just get this, that whenever you want somebody to stop making the same mistake, to elevate their performance, whatever it is, you need to listen to their concerns and listen to what they've got going on and just acknowledge hearing it and make sure they get that you've acknowledged hearing it before them responding. Okay, being your word is a practice that maintains listening. So listening is one that builds loyalty, and being your word is what maintains loyalty. So what is this? What does being your word mean? Being your word includes meeting, arriving, or calling someone at the time you said. 2, completing your actions by the time you said you would. Replying to communications by when promised. Taking actions that are congruent to your and your company's values. So if you've got a value whatever it is. It could be to be supportive, to be compassionate, to be, community spirited, community minded. You need to be behaving, walking, talking in a way that's congruent to those values for people to see you being your word. 5, when not being your word, to not hide and instead taking responsibility and declaring a solution to not doing so again. So if you're, I don't know, if you've promised to send a file or an email to somebody and you haven't done it, rather than just quietly beavering away and panicking and thinking, oh, got to get round to it, and then 2 days later you finally send it, you've just had 2 days of panic and worry and stress that you've put up on your shoulders. The thing to do is, when you're not going to hit that deadline, just pick up the phone to that individual, say, look, I know I said I was going to have this email with you. I'm so sorry. I'm completely swamped. Can we create a new deadline by when I need to have this with you? And then you create that and you recommit. And instantly your stress around that will leave your shoulders. Because what I've noticed is that most of the stress that we feel is not being able to hit deadlines or being over deadlines. But the minute we pick up the phone and communicate that we're not able to hit them, we free ourselves of a lot of that stress, and it enables us to focus on what's in front of us and operate at a much higher level of performance and deliver better work, better management, better leadership, better everything. Okay, so what happens when you are not being your word? Your team will see a lack of congruency between what you say and do. Like, if you want everybody in your team to be hitting 100 hours a month of billing targets, and they're not doing that, they're underneath it, but you're late for meetings and you don't do what you say you're going to do for your colleagues to support them or help them or fulfill whatever promise, how can you then say, let's have a look at your hours? Oh, they're under. What's going on here? It's like you can't be taken seriously by that colleague that you're holding to account. So you can see this is important, getting this stuff right. Yeah. So your team will consciously or subconsciously lose their trust in you. That's what's going to happen. In the end, they're going to know you for being this person that talks, says things, but doesn't really do what you say. 3, your team will become less and less loyal to you. That's what happens. You'll start to lose their loyalty. And we've seen what happens when people aren't loyal to you. It just gets very stressful to manage and try and get their cooperation. So team members become loyal to us and our vision when they trust us. That's fundamentally it. It's all about really building your team members' trust. And if you're sneaking around, if you're trying to manipulate them or use fear tactics to get them to do what you want and things like this, and behaving a little bit weird, they can see it. They know. And it's just, you might think you're getting away with it, but actually you're not. You've got to be practicing building real trust, and that's by being honest and straight with people. Trust is gained by being our word and taking responsibility when we're not being it. It's as simple as that. Okay, so what is gossiping? Because this is the third thing that breaks down loyalty. When you speak judgmentally and disrespectfully about someone. It's as simple as that. If you say something to someone that you don't want that other individual to hear about them, and you're speaking judgmentally or disrespectfully about them, then that's gossiping. When you say something about someone in an attempt to damage their reputation. This happens a lot when there's rivalry in firms, where it's like you've got one head of department competing with another head of department. They will start gossiping badly about one of the other head of department, trying to ruin their reputation so that they get to stand out and be seen as the greater one. It just doesn't work. Number 3, when you voice opinions about someone that you don't want the victim to hear. Simple as that. Okay, what happens if gossiping persists across your firm? Team members avoid speaking their minds and fear that what they say will be repeated. And this happens a lot in the legal sector. People feel like they're walking on eggshells and they're so scared of, speaking out loud an idea or trying to get advice on something they're dealing with, because they're worried that whatever they say will be spread out around the firm and then will some way be used against them. Number 2, gossip causes everyone to not feel safe to share their ideas, which is an antithesis to a thriving work culture. It's as simple as that. You need to have a work environment where people feel like they can jump up with a solution to a problem when they discover the problem and have the solution arise in their mind. If they don't feel safe to do that, nobody's going to step up. And you as the law firm owner or partner are going to find yourself always having to chime in, pick the ball up whenever it gets dropped, complete unfinished work and do it properly because nobody else around you is stepping up to do it instead. And firms that have a lot of gossip throughout them generally experience that. Gossip breaks down teamwork, creates a bad culture, and directly negatively impacts profitability. So everything I'm speaking about here in this session is all profit focused whilst reducing your workload and in the process creating a thriving environment that everyone enjoys working in. So how to end gossiping and create a thriving work environment? Number one, on a future firm-wide meeting, announce a no gossiping policy. So simple as that. You state, okay, from now on, we've got a new policy. Absolutely no gossiping is allowed at all across the firm. And you need to reiterate that that is speaking badly about somebody behind their back, speaking in the way that is to damage their reputation, or saying things or opinions that you wouldn't say to them, and making it clear that from this moment on, that all ends. 2, clearly communicate why and the negative impacts of gossiping, as I've covered there. Request everyone first speak to who they have a problem or concern with to try to solve it. So what you'd say is, okay, so from now on, if you have a problem or you have something that doesn't work in your relationship dynamics or in something in the way that you don't work well together with someone else, you are to first go and approach that individual and speak to them to see if you can try and resolve it. What this does is it gives everybody autonomy to be responsible, to be fully grown adults, and to be able to have professional conversations with other people. Then the backup is, if they can't, ensure everyone has one manager they can speak to in confidence to solve the problem. Everybody must have somebody, one manager that they can confide in to solve whatever problems or challenges they have, and they must know who that is. Number 5, if the problem still can't be solved, the manager is to bring it to their manager and so on up the chain up until it's resolved. And if you put this in place, it gives people this feeling of they feel safe within the environment. They feel they can speak their mind. They know if anybody has a problem or a challenge, there's a policy that they will go and speak to whoever they got that problem with. And if they then can't solve it, they've got a support structure like a manager or somebody they can speak to instead. So what happens when gossiping ends and safe communication structures are in place? So team members freely speak their minds, gain the support they need, and managers are in the know. How can the managers know what's going on if people are not willing to speak their mind or own up about the challenges they've got going on? You'll never know. And then you don't know what it is that you need to focus on to have people starting to hit their billing targets. And so when you're in the know, you've got your ear to the ground, you realize, okay, it's a problem with the technology, or it's a problem with their skill or their ability, or it's some kind of relationship dynamic, or whatever it is. You'll be in the know so you know what to work in next. And that's vital in business. Number 2, everyone feels safe to share their ideas so they grow more rapidly together. So when somebody shares an idea, other people get to onboard that idea into their thinking and grow with that. So together, everybody grows when everybody's sharing ideas. This creates a thriving work culture that team members enjoy being in, which helps reduce staff turnover. So if you've got a problem with staff turnover, for whatever reason, it's really good to just look at implementing this first, a no gossiping culture, but also with the right support structures in place. 4, this induces teamwork, which further helps improve profitability. So it makes people work together so much better. That makes people feel safe to speak their minds around each other. And yes, so team loyalty revision. Commit to listening and leaving everyone feeling heard before replying. Really important. One of my clients has absolutely had a game-changing experience. She is the MD of a 100-person firm, and she felt like she was being excluded from the board of directors, and she didn't know how to regain her position, and she was worried that she was going to lose that. But just by going around the other board members and asking them, what do you want to succeed at? What do you want to get out of your position in the board? And then her just listening and really getting them, it made her feel so much more at peace and ease, because then she was able to collaboratively work with each member in the board to have them succeed at what matters to them. She then took that skill of listening to the other heads of departments, and all in all, she's now really turning the whole firm round, and it's looking like it's on track to be more profitable than ever in the next month or two. Okay, do what you say while taking responsibility for when you can't or haven't. So just practice being your word. If you say 9 a.m., be there at 9 a.m. And if you're not, say, guys, I'm so sorry, I'm 5 minutes late and this just doesn't work. How can I expect you guys to be on time if I'm not on time myself? From now on, you can count on me to be on time for these meetings. That's it. That's all you need to say. You've acknowledged it instead of trying to hide it and get away with it. Okay, stand up for a no gossiping policy and ensure support structures are in place. So now on to part 2, team responsibility. What is being responsible and why is this so important? Okay, so teams made up of people that more often avoid taking responsibility for their lack of performance have a culture of blaming. And you might have heard of this. It's called blame culture. So on one side, you've got responsibility culture. The opposite is blame culture. So the cause of blame culture is team members blaming you, your clients, their colleagues, having too much work to do, the firm's procedures, not being able to find a document, not receiving an email. You've all heard it before. What you say to them, why haven't you done that? So, well, I never got the email. It's a classic, right? Or technology. Oh, it keeps breaking down. I don't like it. It's outdated. Or why did we have to move to this new system? I can't find anything. And anything they can think of, they will blame it instead of taking responsibility for why they're not hitting their targets or their team isn't hitting theirs. Above all, a blame culture develops across teams when leaders blame their team members for making mistakes. This is a massive no-no. If you say to your team members, you blithering idiot, we've gone over this so many times. All you need to do is this, this, and this. Can't you just get it? Can't you just do it right? That's just blame. That's just aggression. And it's really non-constructive and doesn't help anybody to progress in their abilities. So how does blame culture affect business and team performance? 1, causes of bad performance are hidden. Thus, it's impossible to put in place what is missing to improve performance. So if everybody's blaming why they're not hitting their billing targets or why they're leaving your firm or whatever it is, you'll never know what's actually going on in your firm. You'll never know what to work on. You'll never really know what it is that you need to invest your resources on to resolve. 2, problems repeat and low performance continues because you can never know what's really happening. You can never find a solution. Because you can never find the solution, the same problems just keep going and going and going. Number 3, team members fear being fully expressed, so don't ask for the support they need. So they will just blame. And then if you've got an unhealthy culture across your firm, then your associates will just avoid being fully expressed. They won't ask for their support or your support, and they'll just blame. They'll just blame things. They'll blame everything, as we've gone through. And team members' skills grow slowly. So because they just blame and they don't take responsibility for why they're not hitting their billing targets, they just hide out. You can't get hold of them. They don't answer emails. And so as a result of that, they don't get the skills they need and they grow slowly. And then in the end, your firm gets left behind versus other firms that are growing more rapidly. As a result, firm profit is usually greatly limited. Team members avoid taking responsibility and instead blame others because they are avoiding looking bad to you and their colleagues. This is one of the major causes of blaming. It's like everybody's so busy trying to make it look like they've got it all together, they've got it all handled, that everyone starts to wear this mask of looking good and pretending looking good and wearing the latest fashion and doing whatever else. And really, what they're doing is they're just trying to keep up this front, this act. And the number one prerogative to keep up the act is, as soon as that person is being held responsible for a lack of performance in any way, is to just blame something or blame someone else. Okay, law firm owners become highly profitable whilst reducing their workload when they create a firm culture of taking responsibility and delegating away their workload. So if you've got a culture where everyone's blaming everyone else for their lack of performance and everyone's blaming whatever else, and then you go and request that they hit their billing targets, then it's really not going to work, because you can't then hold them accountable when they don't hit their targets or find out why they're not hitting their billing targets. You just keep going around in circles. So how to move a firm culture from blaming to taking responsibility. And as we said at the beginning, if you have any questions come up, please do save them, because I'm going to make sure we have a really great session at the end of this to go through and really hash them all out. So how to move a firm culture from blaming to taking responsibility. Lead by always taking responsibility first. This sounds ridiculous, but let's say that one of your team members, I'm just trying to think of an example, one of my clients, keeps saving their files on the computer instead of in the system. And you know what it's like with the SRA, you need to have things in order and ready to present when you need them. But I know what it's like. A lot of associates just will not do the basic things, so that then should that information be needed, it's available. And let's say, and this is happening, and you find that out with that individual, the skill is to say, look, we've seen that you've been saving the files to the desktop, and I take responsibility for not making it clear that this doesn't work within our firm, and I take responsibility for not having arranged the training or the support that you need on the new system to make sure this doesn't happen again. So you can hear, this is their mistake, this is them that's letting you down, but you're being the great human being in that moment. You're being the one that's taking responsibility for their lack of performance. That is what true responsibility looks like. And you want to be that as you lead and manage your firm, so that then you inspire others to also be willing to take responsibility for their mistakes and even others around them. So when a team member makes a mistake, always be looking for and expressing what you take responsibility for in their mistake. So we've covered that one. When you don't complete something well, or by when you said, don't hide it, clear it up. Say, I promise I'd have this with you and I haven't, such and such. We've gone through that. So 4, when a team member makes a mistake, acknowledge them for their effort. It's really easy when somebody makes a mistake, you just go into launching at them, getting angry at them, getting fed up at them. And what happens is that individual just feels blamed, and it's not constructive. Instead, breathe. And before you go and give them corrective instruction, just say, look, I know you're doing your best. I see that. Okay. I do get it. And I appreciate that so much. And if you keep putting this effort in, we're all going to succeed around here. Okay. And then go and give them the corrective instruction. So that's how you avoid basically just letting your anger, lash out on them. So note, if a team member repeatedly operates at an unsatisfactory level, shows no or little improvement, and you can see there's nothing more you can take responsibility for in their lack of performance, it's possibly time to terminate their position. And we're going to get into how do you track somebody's performance and how do you know when to take what action when we go into this. But what I'm including this is just to say to you, you can't go on forever taking responsibility for everybody's mistakes and problems and then making suggestions and agreements, and then they don't implement and don't progress them enough over 3 to 6 months, and you carry on indefinitely. That's really not what I'm saying. Okay, so the law firm owner who creates a great and thriving work culture, one that is free of blaming, guides their team members to get that there is never anything wrong. There is only ever something missing. If you've got a pen and paper there, I'd like to write this down. If you've got a mobile phone and can take a note, write this down. If one of you can even write it in the chat box. As I'm speaking right now, I can't see any of your faces. I can't see the chat box, and I feel like I'm chatting away to myself sat in this room. But I know that you're tuned in because I can see it's live. So just take this from me, write that down. There is never anything wrong. There is only ever something missing. Because once you get this, and you get this as like an ethos and a way of thinking right across your firm, then what happens is everybody starts to become investigators to look for what's missing, rather than blaming themselves or blaming something else. And it has you move through, break down some problems so rapidly, because you don't get caught in all these emotions and everyone getting triggered. It's just as simple as that. There's never anything wrong. There's only ever something missing. And just practicing that as a way of thinking and being and talking has completely transformed many of my clients' law firms. I'm not joking. So let's get into it. To rapidly elevate individual responsibility and team performance, move from advising to leading. And we're going to get into the difference between the two. So here's Carlos. He came to me 2.5 years ago, was completely burnt out, leading a team of only 12 people. He was working over 100 hours a week, and he was receiving, no lie, over 250 text messages a day from people wanting him to answer things or to provide him answers on things he was that they were dealing with that they could quite easily solve on their own. And why is that? Well, because all he did was text back the answers. If anybody needed something, he'd text back the answer. If somebody emailed him asking him something, he'd email back the answer. If somebody phoned him up, he'd give them the answer. So he became the Google of his law firm. And everybody relied on him for more advice. Instead, I showed him how to lead, which is where instead of just giving people the answer, you first acknowledge them. Okay, thanks for bringing this to me. And what have you done in the past that's worked? Okay, not bad. What else could you try? What else could you do? And through doing that, what you're doing is you're causing people to think for themselves, find a solution for themselves, propose a solution themselves, which makes them become a problem solver. When you then are leading problem solvers rather than people that are always seeking your advice, they start to be autonomous. They start to be much more effective at solving the problems and challenges as they arise instead of relying on you. And we're going to be breaking this down in this section more. So team responsibility revision. Lead by always taking responsibility first. So we've covered that one. Even when other people make mistakes or you're late, always be practicing. What can I take responsibility for in what's working right now? And always be looking for what's missing, right? Because there's never anything wrong. There's only ever something missing. When a team member makes a mistake, acknowledge them for their effort. Take a breath. You've been let down, you're angry, and it's totally human to feel angry. And at the same time, just look for what you can acknowledge them first before then going into corrective instruction. Don't advise, instead lead. So as I was saying, don't just be giving people the answers. If people keep texting you, you can text them back, bring that to our weekly meeting, and I will get into how you set up these meetings and what you do. But basically, you want everyone in your firm to have a specific time with you or their manager that they have all these little niggles, problems, challenges solved. So the rest of the time, everybody in the firm, managers, you are not getting bombarded with just loads of requests for advice and things like this that just keep breaking up your workflow and slow you down. Instead, lead. When they then come to that weekly one-on-one call, team meeting, you then have them call out to you all the challenges they had, all the things they want to ask you, and you work through them with them in that time. And you do that not by advising, by leading them as well. You ask them, what solution can you see? What do you suggest, instead of telling them what to do? Okay, continually promote a context of there is never anything wrong. There is only ever something missing. I hope you all wrote that down. Okay, on to number 3, going to do a time check. So now we're 1 hour and 10 minutes in. Shall we go for that break? Yes? Sounds good?
I think that's
sounds
about
good.
right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Has this been useful so far, by the way? Now I can see your faces.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Brilliant.
Well,
Look
for my
at
money, yeah.
fireworks.
I mean, I'm not a law firm owner, but I'm sure if I was, I'd be my ears would be pinned up.
Nice. Okay, brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Take a break, 5 minutes, stretch your legs, bathroom, everything, and we'll see you here again. Cheers.
Lovely. Cheers.
I realised I should have set a timer for 5 minutes and I haven't. so there goes my management leadership out the window instantly. So when you're ready to go, you can just put a yes in the chat box, or video and thumb up, whatever you like. Great. Thanks, Anthony. Dawn, got a yes from Dawn. Thanks, Dawn. Stuart, thank you. Great. The rest of you, are you back? Maybe not yet. Whilst we're waiting for the rest of the people to join, what one insight have you gained that's been useful from what I've covered so far? You need to unmute yourself if you want to speak.
Sorry, I've got my little girl in the background, so.
Oh, that's fine.
I would say about the gossiping, that's the one thing that I'm quite interested in.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's really common. It's really common, and the challenge isn't just ending gossiping. It's making sure that people have the right avenue to express themselves, the right structures in place, and to feel that they're safe in that channel to be able to do that. Once you have that, the requesting of the ending of the gossiping gets much easier to manage and handle. Yeah, nice, great. Any other insights any of you have had that have been useful so far?
The managing, just for me, the managing of the amount of questions and not jumping in immediately with answers and letting them sort of hunt for themselves. That's something that really hit home. I'm definitely doing that from 2 o'clock onwards today.
Yeah, good on you. Fantastic. Yeah, it's a game changer, because people are, your associates, they're going to come to you, they're going to want the answers as usual, but they're not going to get them anymore.
Dan, I'm also looking forward to seeing how you deal with not having put a time limit on it. We'll see it in practice.
Oh, well, we've got that with the requests and accountability. Oh, yeah, we're going to be covering all of that. Yeah. All right, so let's go for it. If you can all just make sure you're muted. Great, thank you. Here you go, share my screen again. And here I am, Keynote. And play. Okay, so perfect cue, requests and accountability, the dreaded deadlines and how do you implement those? Let's go for it. So a law firm owner starts to effectively delegate away their workload when they move from thinking, how can I fit this in, to who can do this for me? It's a fundamental core shift that needs to happen. And it's natural that you're always thinking, how am I going to fit this in? Because all the way through your academic training, through being an associate, you're made requests, you're asked to hit billing targets, do all this, do all that. And you're always thinking, oh God, how am I going to fit this in? How am I going to do all this? I just can't do all this. And it's a natural way of thinking. But at no point are we taught to think, who can do this for me? Like, write a list of everything you got going on and start to ask, right, who could do this for me instead? And as you continue to keep asking yourself that, who can do this for me instead, it will become more and more natural. So let me see if I did this before, managed to minimize this at the top. Will it let me? Okay, I can only see half my title. So why is this so crucial and vital for the success of a business? So one, if requests aren't clear, it's not possible to know if what is causing bad performance is a lack of leadership or something the team members lack. It's as simple as that. If you don't make a clear request of someone and then you don't hold them to account on it and they don't hit that deadline, you don't know whether it's something that's missing from something you're not telling them or something that they're not able to do, if that makes sense. 2, high individual and team performance is the outcome of team members being effectively held to account for requests they have agreed on. So this is the fundamentals of leadership and management. It's all about making requests and then holding them to account to meet what has been agreed on. That's it. Without clear requests, team members can hide in an organization. They freely perform at low levels, cost business owners a lot of money, and severely decrease a business's profitability. So you really must get into the habit of making clear requests. And first, we're going to distinguish what a clear request is. So what is a clear request? It has a clear description of what you want someone else to do. So if you say, go and make that client happy, that's not a clear request. That's just some fluffy, weird piece of communication. You need to have a clear description of what you want doing, such as an email's just come in from this client. Can you read it? Email me no more than 12 bullet points on what they want doing and a solution to each one. That is a clear request. Nearly another part to it. A clear time you want the task completed by. So if you don't set an agreed time by when they're going to do that, let's say the client needs to have the work on the Friday. You know you need to have it on the Wednesday to be able to review it, check it, send it back to the associate to amend, then receive it to check it again, to send it to the client on time on the Friday. And you request the associate does that work, it will then get to Thursday and you're wondering, are they doing it? Are they not? Do they know what to do? Do they know how to do it? And you'll be pacing up and down like a cat on a hot tin roof, stressed and worried that your client's going to get let down. Whereas if you'd set a clear deadline, say Tuesday, 12 p.m., you can focus on your work, do everything that's important to you. And then if you're wondering about that piece of work, you've agreed with them, it's 12 o'clock is a deadline. So you don't need to pester them. You don't need to text them. You don't need to send them a message saying, hey, how's it going? Because then that's micromanaging. And that steals away from them the opportunity to prove themselves to you and to win their trust so that, in essence, they can gain the career progression they want. So to avoid that, you just wait till 12 p.m. Tuesday. At 12 p.m., go and check your emails. Is it there? It is. It's there. Great. Is it not? Then you pick up the phone to that associate and you say, hi, Jack, did you know we had an agreement that this was going to be done by this time frame? Always check first that they were clear on what needed to be done by when, so that then if needed, you can clear up that it's that you didn't make a clear request to begin with. Then recommit to making a clear request in the future. Or it's not done because of something else they're dealing with. And at that point, you can ask them what support they need and you can agree on a new deadline for them to have it done by. And then off you go again. So 3, agreement from both parties on the task to be done and time frame. So once you've agreed on what needs to be done and by what time frame, you need to be sure that they're 100% clear on what has been agreed and by when. If the call or the meeting ends abruptly and they drift off and you're not really 100% sure they've really understood what you've said, then I guarantee you they haven't. They've come up with an imagination of what you want doing and they will fulfill what they've imagined, not what it is that you'd like to have done. If either of these 3 elements is not included, a clear request has not been made, which usually leads to unfulfilling results. You'll either have work not being done, not being completed well, or delivered on time and not being completed well, or both, not being delivered on time and not being delivered, or maybe if at all. So clear requests are not things like this, right? An email from John Smith has just come in. Can you run with it? There's just some weird fluff. I've got so much work on that I don't know how I can get it all done. One of my clients thought that if he could show and express to everyone how overwhelmed and exhausted he was, that everybody would just start helping out. But it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. I remember my mum doing this with us when we were younger. Why do I always have to do the cleaning and the cooking around here? And would storm off. And I said, Mum, why don't you just ask us what you'd like us to do? And she says, I shouldn't have to ask. And so we didn't really end up helping her all that much. And I wished I had, because now I'm a mum to 2 young daughters. I know how exhausting it is. So sorry, now I'm a father to 2 young daughters. I know how exhausting it is. So can you finish that report for John Smith? That's not a clear request either. So effective leadership is not manipulating others to take action, but inspiring others to take action. To take action because of a new future you enable them to see is possible for them. So let me say that again. Effective leadership is not manipulating others to take action, but inspiring others to take action. To take action because of a new future you enable them to see is possible for them. This is pure leadership. It's the inspiring, it's the motivating, it's getting somebody to do something because they see there's something in it for themselves. So when making, I've got to see if I can move this flipping bar from the top here, because it's stopping me see the title of my slides. Okay, I'm just going to present it like this. And let's see. Can I move to the next one? No, I've got to actually physically move down it. Okay, I'm just going to do it this way. So when making a request, To avoid manipulating, always give the options to either 1, accept, 2, decline or counter offer. So if you're making a request of somebody and you say to somebody, if you don't do this, then you're going to be in big trouble. Or if you don't do this, then we're going to have words, then that's manipulating. So what you do is when you make a request of somebody to do something, look, can you hit your 100 hours of billable target, your 100-hour billing target this month? And when you request that of somebody and they say, oh, well, I don't know, I've got a lot on, or I've got to deal with this, say, okay, I get it. And can you just give me an answer? Do you accept it? Do you decline it? Or can you counter offer it? And they might say, well, look, I hit 80 last month. Can I go for 90? Okay, fair enough. Go and hit your 90 this month. And this way, what happens is you're not manipulating. You're not forcing somebody to do something that you want and telling them or else. You're actually giving them a choice, accept, decline or counter offer. And if you do that, then you're not manipulating. Okay, requests that are manipulative use fear to try and force others to take action and sound like, if you don't do this, your job is on the line. Or if you don't do this, we're going to have serious words. If I have to repeat myself once more, we're going to have major problems. All this is using fear tactics and just scaring people into trying to do things that you want. Manipulation as such always leads to creating a non-thriving work cultures that will eventually be full of bad performance and high staff turnover. And the legal sector is renowned for manipulation. And it's simply because, especially in the legal sector, but in many business entities, group environments where there's people under pressure to all hit targets, that pressure causes people to just use the tactics that they've known from their childhood, like say please, you know, this thing of please, can you please do this? Like you got to please someone, you got to plead for somebody to do something. It's a little bit creepy, and I'm not saying don't say please, but it just shows how right from our childhood we're taught these ways of doing things that then we naturally just carry on doing when we're adults, and we're never taught management leadership, which frees you from having to manipulate and is so much more effective. So how to handle broken agreements. Number 1, first, arrange a time to verbally speak, not email, with the person who has broken the agreement. So if somebody's let you down, you send them a text saying, are you free for 10 minutes? And then you get on a call with them. Don't do this by email. This needs to be done person to person in conversation. Emails can be hidden, they can be deleted, anything can happen. All this is so much more effective in person, one-on-one. So when in a meeting or on a call with them, first acknowledge them for something they do well. So acknowledge them for what they do well. Acknowledge them for their contribution to their firm. Acknowledge them for what you appreciate they do well. Then, number 3, set an intention for the call. So the reason why I'm calling you today is because I've noticed something that I requested you to do and it hasn't been done as well or by the time that we agreed. Now, before you go on, you then go on to number 4 here, which is reaffirm. There is never anything wrong. There is only ever something missing. And when you do this, you're basically reassuring them, look, I'm not blaming you, not blaming anything. And all that we're doing here is we're going to look for what's missing so that when you put this in place, it doesn't happen again. Number 5, ask them if they agree that the specific agreement you had has been broken. Like, are they aware that they'd made the agreement that what was going to be done and by that time frame hasn't been done and has been broken? Because they might not have known it, they might not have understood it, and at which point you can take responsibility for your lack of communication, management and leadership. Okay, number 6, if they don't agree or are not aware of this, clear up your lack of effective communication and state a new commitment to making clear requests. Okay, how to handle broken agreements. Number 7, if they agree that they broke the specific agreement, ask them questions that lead to seeing the severity of their lack of performance, such as, so what you do is when somebody's really messed up and done something bad or repeatedly made the same mistake, it's time for them to get the severity of what they're doing in your firm. So what you do is you ask them things like, how do you think this impacts our firm? And what you're doing is you're basically holding an awkward silence for them to actually answer. And you need to hold the silence long enough for them to actually answer. How does this impact our relationship? How do you think this impacts your future? On to number 8, ask them to see what was missing that they can put in place to avoid this from happening again. So once you've had them get the impact of what they're doing and the severity of their lack of performance, then you're ready to move on. It's like, I gave an analogy to a client I was working with yesterday that, you know, he was let down by a series of his associates because he went on holiday for the first time in 2 years and a few things didn't get done. It was a breakthrough in itself, but still it wasn't all that good. And so what I said to him was they need to get the impact of them not doing this properly. And I used the analogy, take somebody fat sitting at home on their sofa, they're overweight, they keep drinking loads of beer, they eat loads of cakes, crisps, they'll just carry on doing what they're doing. But the day that they get, you know, they got a problem, they go and see the doctor and they get a health scare, or they start to feel a symptom or they have a stroke or something like that happens, only then when they get that shock over their health and their condition, will they usually or often be motivated to then do something about it. It's as simple as that. We all as human beings will keep doing what we're doing until we get shocked and awakened with what we're doing and the ineffectiveness of it. So what you need to do is when somebody keeps letting you down or isn't doing something by the time they said they would, you don't say to them, why have you done this? This is just stupid. Can't you see? You just need to do this and do that and save it here and do that. When you do that, it doesn't work. They need to really feel the impact of their lack of performance to take anything that gets said in that conversation onwards seriously and actually implement it. So then number 8, ask them to see what was missing that they can put in place to avoid this from happening again. And again, this is not advising, you're leading them. Okay, so remember, you might say something like, okay, so look, don't worry. There's nothing wrong here. It's only something missing. What is it that's missing you can put in place to make sure it doesn't happen again? Great. Recording your time. Okay, so let's do a little bit of training on recording your time. Why don't you share your screen with me and let's look at how you've been recording your time and let's look at the kind of work you've been doing to see if there's something that you can record as billable. One of my other clients, her biggest problem to her profitability is profitability seepage, was what she called it, which is basically where the team members are not billing for everything they could be billing. And specifically, it was research work. And what the associates felt like, this is just me not knowing this. And I need to spend hours researching this before I can deliver this for the client. No, that is still billable. And so through then implementing this and working with them on a one-on-one basis, she's now got her team members starting to bill for a lot more of the hours that they're actually completing at work. And it's great. 9, only when you both arrive at a solution that will likely cause a lack of performance to not be repeated, can you declare the problem as solved. In other words, if you were to end that conversation and you just can't see there's going to be anything new done about what's just happened, then it's likely the problem will just continue. You need to close that conversation with a solution that you have the confidence that when implemented will solve that problem. Then the problem is solved for the time being. 10, acknowledge them for making an effort to work on their performance. It's really easy in all of this to forget that we're human beings and we all thrive off acknowledgement. So just say to them, thanks so much for taking the time to work this. I know it's not an easy conversation and you've been absolutely brilliant. And I'm looking forward to building an ever better, greater firm with you. Thanks so much. Okay, so request and accountability revision. A clear request has a clear description of the task, a time frame, and agreement from everyone involved, from both parties maybe. 2, manipulation is not effective and rather inspiring people to take action gains much greater results. And the way you can do this is by first getting into the world of each manager, associate, employee and saying, you've been at this firm for a while now, and I've never stopped to ask you, what do you want to get out of being here? What do you want to succeed at? Is there some kind of hobby that you want more time to be able to go away and do? And once you do that and really get in their world, then you can work with them on setting targets that if they meet them, they can be working towards achieving that, whether it's time off, pay rise, become partner, whatever it is. Always create structures that hold people to account to ensure their success. So if you make requests of people and then you disappear and don't hold them to account by when they said they were going to do what they said they were going to do, then there's almost no point making the request in the first place. You need to be having regular intervals, and we're going to be getting into this in the next section, regular one-on-one intervals where you check in with, okay, did you do that? Did you do that? Did you do this? You didn't. Okay, so there's nothing wrong. There's only something missing here. What can we do about this? Okay, on to number 4. I'll just take a sip of water. Okay, delegation structures. A law firm owner who succeeds in building a highly profitable firm while reducing their workload implements not reactive management, but proactive management. And we're going to be breaking this down. So reactive management. No regular one-on-one calls set with key team members or team leaders. In other words, if you leave yourself available at all times, you can be texted, contacted, called, emailed, and you don't have regular one-on-one calls, that's reactive management. You're having to stop what you're doing, react, and sort something out before you can get back to whatever it is you wanted to do. Mostly giving the answers, advising instead of leading individuals to think of solutions. So we've covered this. Don't tell people what to do. Don't advise them. Say, okay, thanks for bringing that to me. What do you think the answer is? What else could you do? What have you tried? That's the key. When you don't do that and you just keep advising, it leaves you constantly having to be reactive to handle everybody's, problems by giving them more advice. Managers make themselves available at all times. We've covered that one. Not making clear requests. In other words, not measurable result, no time frame, and not agreed. If you don't make those clear requests and agree a deadline, you're always having to micromanage, be worried, stressed, be reactive all the time. Not training team members to avoid repeating mistakes. So when a mistake happens, if you don't hold that member to account on it and say, okay, so what happened there? What got in the way? What is the impact of that? You do some impact work if you need to. Say, okay, well, what do you suggest going forwards? And what are you going to do? If you don't do that, then the same mistakes just keep repeating, and then you're left constantly having to be reactive. Not setting and communicating boundaries. In other words, you need to say, you cannot contact me unless absolutely necessary. If necessary, that's fine. Like, I understand sometimes you need to contact me, but unless necessary, do not contact me each morning until 11 a.m. I've got one of my clients is now doing that. She absolutely loves it because before 11 a.m. she catches up on everything, which means that when it gets to 5 or 6 p.m. she can go home, be with her family because she handled everything in the morning. So Dr. Frank, one of my clients currently working with me now, he's now just registered onto a third 6-month program with me, and he didn't set boundaries, and he had people coming and going as much as they wanted. They contacted him whenever they wanted. They didn't even care about their targets, and my client, Dr. Frank, just would never hold them to account, and he let all of them walk all over him, and it left him exhausted, and it made him angry. He was, when we first started working together, he was frustrated. He was angry with his team, and naturally so, because he constantly felt let down. But when we got into it, was because we saw it's just not setting and communicating boundaries. When you don't do that, you are what's called a people pleaser. You end up just working to please everyone instead of actually, working as a team and having them respect you. So, proactive management. Regular one-on-one calls set with key team members and leaders. So set regular one-on-one calls. Managers make themselves available only in one-on-one calls or when absolutely necessary. Set those boundaries. Don't make yourself available at all times, otherwise it's exhausting. Not giving the answers, advising and leading team members to think of solutions themselves. Covered that a few times. Making clear requests with agreed measurable results and timeframes. From this moment on, make a commitment that every single request you make of someone, you will agree a deadline by when it's going to be done. And if it sounds too full on to say, can you do this for me by 6 p.m. today, or can you do this by 12 p.m. tomorrow? You can say to them, by when do you think you could get that with me by? It's a little bit softer, but you're beginning the negotiation to arrive at a time, and they say, I can have it with you 6 p.m. Friday. You can then say, this work needs to be with a client on Thursday morning. And then they can say, oh, okay, so, I need to have that with you tomorrow. Yeah, is that okay? Yeah, brilliant. But then don't settle for that. Say, okay, what time tomorrow? I'd need right to the end of the day. So should we say 5 p.m? Brilliant. Thanks so much. So you're going to have this with me by 5 p.m. tomorrow. Great. That is proactive management. In one-on-one calls, training team members to see and end repeating mistakes. So in other words, you need to be in those one-on-one calls going over the mistakes that people have made and supporting them to end them from repeating again. Otherwise, you have to keep handling the same things going round and round, the same mistakes. The managers set and communicate boundaries. So set boundaries as to when you can and can't be communicated by and with and things like that. And just get out of being the people pleaser. You're not there to be the people pleaser. You're the one to get the best performance out of everyone and have everyone feeling like they're part of something great and everyone to be succeeding at also what matters to them along as you. Okay, so highly effective delegation structures. Set weekly one-on-one calls or meetings with your key team members. And I say a maximum of 10. And this is a game changer. And I know it might seem much. It's like, wow, 10 one-on-one calls a week. But I've just got off another call with another one of my clients. Oh, same MD with 100 employees. And she's implemented this. And she's noticed that not only by setting these one-on-one calls, but by requesting, unless necessary, don't contact me until these one-on-one and bring everything to the one-on-one, that all of a sudden she's got this peace and quiet. She's got this time to really focus on looking at the time recording, looking at recruitment, looking at all the other things to really build the firm's profitability. And it means that even though you've got so many more one-on-ones, because you haven't got all those little phone calls, all those interruptions, all those text messages, everything else the rest of the time, you'll find that your time required to effectively elevate everyone's performance in the end decreases a lot less than if you left yourself available and texting all the time. Acknowledging them for their effective work. So acknowledge them when they do something right, acknowledge them for it, because then it shows them, right, this is what you did well, this is what I want more of. See what agreements made in the previous week's meetings have been broken. So in other words, each week say, have you done that? Have you done that? Did you do this? You didn't do that? Okay. So there's nothing wrong, there's only something missing, and off you go. Guiding, not by advising, but by leading them to suggest solutions. We've covered that. Reviewing work together and training team members to end repeating mistakes. So you might have a team member who you would love to be delivering a higher standard of work. What you say to them is, look, I want you to succeed in this firm. I want you to go places. And I want our firm and me, all of us to succeed. So look, can I give you a weekly one-on-one session where we're going to be looking at this kind of work to elevate what you're doing? And what you do is when they deliver a piece of work to you, you mark it up, you save the marked copy, the other one, you then finish it off and you send it to the client, or you might be sending it back to them, but keep the one that you marked. Then in the next one-on-one, you say to them, okay, can you see this section that I've underlined here? Can you read that to yourself and then let me know why do you think I've underlined it? So again, you're not telling them what it is that they did wrong. You're leading them to discover what they've done incorrectly. And then by doing that, they will start to see the mistakes that they're doing and not repeat them. And if you do this with an individual, you'll be amazed in only 4 to 6 one-on-one sessions, you will notice a dramatic improvement in somebody's ability to deliver the work to the standard that you want, which then saves your time. And this is the really exciting part. When they start to produce work that can be delivered directly to the client, you can then request that they basically have a one-on-one call with other team members to look over their work and to train them on what it is that they know, so that then you've got the reviewing work has also then been delegated away from you to somebody else. Making new clear requests of team members to take over your billable work. This is the time when you basically, through these one-on-one sessions, especially with the more senior members, you use this time to request that they take over some of the work that you're doing. And I know this seems alien, but come back to the simple maths. If you bill 500 for that 1 hour, that's all that will ever come in for that 1 hour, and you can't work. If you have a team of 10 billing half that, £250 an hour, that's 2,500 coming in that hour. Even after their wages, that's over 2,000 coming into your firm in that 1 hour, and you have not had to do 1 hour of billing work. So really commit to this, because it makes your firm so much more profitable whilst giving you an amazing lifestyle. Request workflows to be written down for everyone to follow. So when you've got system procedures kind of working, whoever's carrying out that work, ask them to write out the procedure of how they do it. And how do they open the file? How do they save the file? What gets sent to where and how? And get them to document it. And then in one-on-one sessions, read over it, and you will then discover things that they're doing they don't need to do. You can say, did you not know that this is duplicating work? And then that work gets saved from being duplicated, so then they can be doing more billable work instead of admin, further than increasing the profitability that they can bring in for your firm. Okay, set regular weekly team calls or meetings. So you'll have your weekly one-on-one with your key team members. It might be the heads of department. And then what you do is you request each head of department then has a weekly one-on-one with the people below them, and they offer the same support and the same structures, setting boundaries, making clear requests, acknowledging all these things. And what you also do is you yourself have a team call or meeting where everyone dials in for this. You start off leading this, and in this, what you do is you cover having fun. This helps to maintain good relations between team members. Like, what is a business if you don't have everyone in the business every so often meet, see each other's faces, and just acknowledge, hey, I'm part of something. I'm part of this brand. I'm part of this name. I'm doing something here. Whereas when we're all left in silos or all working from home and rarely coming into the office, rarely do we get to acknowledge that we're all part of something and doing something together. And if you have everybody dialing in and then start these calls with having fun, who got more drunk than they intended to on the weekend? Who got up to something fun? Who saw something that surprised them? Not going into details, maybe, whatever, I don't know. But it just has people have fun together, and it makes people feel like they're part of something. Acknowledging individual team members for their effective work. So you would say, okay, this week I would like to acknowledge Jack. He went from billing 72 hours to 86 hours last month. Well done, Jack. Absolutely brilliant. That's making a huge difference to our team and to our brand. And if you keep doing this, you've got a great future ahead of you. And we're going to be getting into acknowledging in the final section and how you do that effectively. Announcing updates that will affect all or most team members. So we've now decided to expand this division of the firm. We're now looking for more conveyancers. If you know anybody who's a conveyancer that would like a new opportunity, a new business, please go and speak to them, see if they're interested. Things like this, it has everybody feel part and valued as your firm. If they're not included in updates and news in this way, then it's like it's you doing your thing and they're somehow on the outside. Whereas if you include them in these announcements, it makes them feel part of it and participate. So lead collective conversations about your company values and mission statements. This is a really important time to have people feeling like they're building and shaping the company with you, which makes them feel more loyal to its success. So if you've got like a tagline or a mission statement or something, read it out and say, what do you guys get from reading that? And do you think we should reword it and have conversations about it? And then if maybe even reword it. And that makes people feel really part of something. Set regular weekly team calls and meetings that also cover taking responsibility for your and the team members' low performance and leading them to create new commitments to solve this. Same as you do in a one-on-one, you do this on a team level. Leading the team to implement solutions to close the gaps in performance. Okay, so we've noticed that this has been happening. Does anyone know why? What is it that you can see that you could do better, or what suggestions do you have? And together as a team, firm-wide, you solve it and implement solutions. Asking relevant individuals what actions they will take and by when. So when somebody says they see what's missing, say, great, okay, so who can take that on? You never step in and say, okay, I'll do that, because then you end up leaving meetings with more you went in with them for. And that's the whole negates the whole point of being a law firm owner and building a great business. Okay. Also, schedule regular times to review work before it's released to your clients. So set a different time for each. Oh, yes. So this is other things that you need to do. We've covered this. Have time to review work before it's released to clients. And this enables you to check the quality of it every so often. If you've got a fairly senior team and not many juniors, then maybe this doesn't apply to you. If you've got a lot of juniors, then the juniors need to be submitting this to their manager to basically have the work reviewed and checked over before it's released to the client, and basically offer them feedback as I've shown how to do to elevate their performance. Leave enough time for you or your fee earner to amend client work before it's released. So if you've got work that needs to be reviewed, naturally, don't request for it to be reviewed that morning that it needs to be released. Give yourself a day or two to review it, or whoever's supposed to be reviewing it. And also, if you've got 10 in a team, don't have everybody submitting work at the same time throughout the week. You could say, right, all your work that needs to be submitted needs to be with me on a Tuesday, yours is on a Wednesday, yours is on a Thursday. Then that way you never get overwhelmed with too much work to review before it's released. Save marked copies of work for one-on-one calls to co-review, so we've covered that. Once fee earners prove themselves to complete work to a satisfactory level, request they take over reviewing and training other fee earners. So when somebody finally really shows that they get your standard of work and the way you want it done, and they really get it, they can then go and offer that training of their knowledge to others to achieve the same. Okay, how to track individual team member performance. Number one, above all, have those weekly one-on-one calls, because otherwise they're making promises and then they're making agreements. How can you track them all? You can't. Whereas if you have a weekly one-on-one call, even if it's only 15 minutes, you dial in, you can see everything they agreed to do, and you can go through. Did you do that? Did you do this? Did you not? And then it enables you to track their performance on an ongoing basis. So if somebody is just not pulling their weight over 2-3 months, you've got, say, columns on some Excel sheet, on a Google sheet, where you can see each week how many ticks are there versus how many things they promised to do. Or you can see a percentage number of their billing target and how much of it they're hitting. And if it's not moving or going down, then you've got the evidence to say, look, we need to put you back on a trial period for a month, and you need to be greatly improving this. Otherwise, we may have to look at terminating your position here. But you can only do that and only satisfy HR if you can show that tracking to be able to take that action. Okay, number 4, delegation structures revision. Move from reactive to proactive management. So this is where you set boundaries, you don't allow yourself to be contacted at all times, and you make clear requests, set regular one-on-one and group calls. This is really key. And then the rest of the time, request that you're not contacted outside of them. Request to be asked questions only in meetings. We've covered that. Train team members to end repeating mistakes. So if you have the same mistakes, take the time to guide them how to stop repeating those mistakes. It's cumbersome, it's annoying, I know, and it's tiring to do, but I promise you, if you do this, you'll surprise yourself at the speed that people will grow, end repeating mistakes, and just become so much more profitable for your firm. Have ideal workflows written down and request everyone follows them. You can only manage somebody to achieve something that's written. If it's not written, how can you manage somebody to achieve what? You know, well, what are you managing them to adhere to? You need something in writing to adhere to, and obviously to constantly refine and make the workflows better. Okay, final section, which is the shortest section of them all. Number 5, acknowledgement. Why is it vital to regularly acknowledge your team members for their efforts and achievements? If team members aren't regularly acknowledged for their efforts, they will start to feel unappreciated, which will soon cause them to become unresponsive to your requests, and their level of performance will fall. It's that simple. You need to be leaving people feeling acknowledged and like you're grateful for them in the firm on a regular basis. Otherwise, that they, you know, at some point they will leave if they're not feeling that. And there's many recruitment agencies out there that are really eager to poach your best employees. So why are acknowledgements so effective? They make team members feel valued, which inspires them to do more for your law firm's success. Simple as that. When they feel like, yay, I'm being seen for my effort, I'm being valued for what I do, they want more of that feeling from you. They want more of that recognition and acknowledgement, so they work even harder. They make team members become more loyal to you and your visions. We've covered that one. And they help decrease the number of employees who want to leave your firm. So we've also covered that one. Acknowledgements elevate performance and firm profitability. So simple as that. So how to use acknowledgements to elevate team performance. Acknowledgements are effective in writing and are most effective when given verbally. So do this in spoken language. Don't just do this in writing. It's no way near as effective. Number 2, acknowledge regularly, especially before giving corrective instruction. So we've covered that one. When acknowledging, clearly describe what action they took that you are referring to and what this made or makes possible for them, the firm, and the firm's clients. Acknowledgement given to a team member in a group meeting effectively trains everyone else listening. Let me give you an example. This week, I'd like to acknowledge Simon. Simon, we had an email come in from one of our top clients, and they weren't pleased with the work that had gone on. And I then saw your reply that you copied me in on, and I thought it was good. But then the next thing I know, this client has gone and instructed us to go and do more work. So what I understand is that you got on a call with them, and I want you to know that you doing that is it's wonderful. You're making our brand be associated with genuinely caring and feeling concern for our clients' success and the work levels that we deliver. And as a result of that, you've won over their confidence when we temporarily lost it and regained it. And as a result of that, we've now got loads more work coming in. And because of that, we all get to pay our mortgages. We all get to put food on our table. And so in essence, you're impacting all of our lives, all of our clients' lives, and everyone here at this firm. Do you get how amazing that is, that what you did there? Do you get that? Now, how does that individual feel being acknowledged in that way? It never happens. Now, it might feel squeamish and a bit over the top, but believe me, it has a profound effect on that individual. They're going to feel like, wow, I'm really being seen and acknowledged for my efforts here. But here's the most amazing part of it. Everybody else that hears you acknowledge that individual in the team realizes how you like things done and how you want things done. And one of my other clients, 75 people in his firm, wanted people to come into the office more often. He acknowledged one of his colleagues for coming into the office on a day when usually he doesn't. And he really thanked him for that and said how it made everybody else in the office feel like he was there to chip in and be a team member and support them all. And just how great that was of him to do that. The very next day, he had 6 people that don't usually come into their local office start to come into their office. And he was really surprised by this. I'm not, because I see it happen often. But that's how powerful it is when you acknowledge in a group setting. So, acknowledgement revision. Acknowledgements make employees even more loyal and elevate their performance. And don't think that if you acknowledge too often, they're going to be saying, oh, well, I want a pay rise. Yes, that can happen. But at that stage, would you not rather have somebody who's really working very well, is amazing to have around, that enjoys your acknowledgement, who every so often says to you, well, I'd like to look at a pay rise, and say, okay, well, let's schedule that in. Let's have a look at your targets. And why not look at setting new targets for them to get that pay rise that they want? Hey, I mean, why not? Acknowledgements are best given verbally. So don't do this in writing, do this verbally on a one-on-one, and even better in a group setting with everyone else hears it, because then you're training everybody else in how you want things doing. To train your team effectively, acknowledge someone in a team meeting for what they did well. So we've covered that. So that's it from me. Thank you. I'd just like to leave you with this, the Law Firm Owners Club. You can take out your phone and scan this now. And if you scan this now, you get taken to my page on my website, And if once you become a member, about every other week, you'll get an actual implementable tip that's based on my real hands-on experience of working with law firms that will increase your profits whilst reducing your workload. You'll also get free tickets to events I'm speaking at. So I'm often speaking at different events up and down the country, and I'll be able to get you free tickets. And you might like this. You get to meet other law firm owners, partners, share ideas, and get to grow with them as well. So if you'd like that, you can take out your phone and scan that, or send me a message and I'll send you a link to it. So that's it from me. Thank you. Over to the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dan. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Really
you.
good insights. Excellent work. So questions. There's got to be some out there.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
We have. Anthony, if you're asking a question, you need to unmute, I think. If you were going to ask a question, I'm not sure.
Or yeah, or you can either type it in the chat section, or you can
Yeah,
unmute
entirely
yourself.
up to you.
Entirely up to you. We must have gone through something in this that made you think, oh yeah, well, it's nice saying that, but I don't see how that's going to work for me. Or have you guys just taken it all on board and you're just ready to run with it all?
Do you mind, sorry, it's Charlotte speaking. Do you mind if I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
The part about saying thank you, acknowledging on the spot, lifetime feedback. Have you ever encountered any employees that have become, I suppose, praise blind, and that no matter what you say to them and no matter how you acknowledge them, it's just they don't take it on board, and that's quite challenging to sort of get them to acknowledge their role in the team and how well they're doing? Is that just sort of a performance management issue where you just think, well, they're not the right fit, it's not the right fit for them, and that's the first step towards exiting? Or is there another sort of strategic move that we could make when somebody isn't acknowledging the praise that's given, which is genuine praise? Is that something you've encountered or can give any hints and tips about?
It's not something I've encountered, but what I sense is going on with that individual is they've got some low disempowering view or opinion of themselves, so that whatever you say, it's like, oh no, that's not me. No, it's fine. I'm just, is that the kind of context that it seems like?
I think it might be. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's just sort of a historical issue that still sort of lingers in my mind, that it didn't seem something that we could ever get to the bottom of. But I suppose a lot of it was in I suppose a reflection of the person receiving the praise rather than
That's right.
the giving of the praise, and maybe there isn't a way around that. That's just a perceptive point, and you're just different in where you're coming from. But I was just interested to float it to see if you've got any thoughts of how that can be dealt with.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And there's always something that can be implemented to elevate performance. So the first thing is that, and has that individual expressed what they want to succeed at out of their participation in the firm?
Yes. It was very financially driven,
Okay.
and which is normal for certainly for sort of more junior members of staff, but also they were completely aware of where their role fitted into the firm structure, the team structure, the success planning, and what targets were appropriate for them, etc., that they needed to beat. So they knew their role and what was needed to sort of get to that level of success, and they were on their way to achieving it. Everything was aligned as it needed to be. It wasn't a poor performance issue. It was just I think it was a perception issue, perhaps, rather than performance.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound to me like you've got any real challenge going on with this individual in regards to participating in your firm. It's that they're just not getting how great they are and what a great team player they are, which is a bit sad. But what I was going to say is, with everything I've covered today, all this management and leadership, the relationship is 50% you, 50% them. In my leadership training, they used to say, there's always something missing with you. But in reality and out on the streets and really getting down to business and work, that's not the case. Some people are just going to be downright difficult, whatever you do, whatever you say. Even when you make the clear requests, hold them to account, help them succeed at what matters to them, and set boundaries and do all these things, they're just going to be a flipping nightmare, which is why, you know, you hear somebody saying, "God, they're so professional. Aren't they professional?" Well, what does that mean? It means that that human being has been able to split the way they feel from the way they show up in communication and in conversation. And they're able to effectively and powerfully serve the human being or the team members around them. That's being professional. So we all have feelings. We always get triggered. We always get these feelings. But the skill is stay facts and figures focused. What are the billable targets? Did you meet them? Did you not? What are the firm-wide targets? What are we out to achieve here? Are we on track? Are we not? And actually having stats and numbers to back that up and to show progression is key. It's never about how we feel about something, or I mean, it is in some sense, because we need to have dynamics work and relationships work so we can all get along. But if you can keep your feelings out of such conversations and also avoiding going down blame, you can, you know, whenever things get too heavy or difficult, it's always a perfect time to say, look, there's nothing wrong here. There's only something missing. And I want us to work together to discover what's missing so that we can put it in place so that this doesn't happen again, or so that you elevate your performance, or, you know, whatever it is. But in your case, I think you've just got an individual who's got a bit of a quirk, but they're hitting their targets and they're really on track. And that's a great acknowledgement to you and your management and leadership of them already. So you're doing something right.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you for saying that. It's just, I think the thing that I've taken away that I didn't realise actually on a separate point linked to this is what you said about giving praise in front of the team and things, because whilst this person is like Teflon and they're just not taking it on, the other team have heard it. So the other parts of the team have heard it. And I think that has created better relationships with them as well. So I guess you win some, lose some. You know, it's just the ricochet effect, really, which is fine.
And even though somebody might appear as Teflon, we're all human beings. We all have feelings. And I guarantee you that that little appraisal, it is sinking in somewhere. And they go home and they tell their loved one or someone. It is going on.
Here's hoping. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome. Great question. Love it. That was a good one. Yeah. Anything else? Any other dynamics any of you are dealing with that would love to have a breakthrough in? Don't need to mention names. Or are there any other sections that I covered in this that you think, oh, I don't know how I can implement that? I'll tell you what, one that's come to me was a question that was brought to me when I spoke at another event. I was approached by a lady who said, I loved everything you said. It's really good. But the fact is I've been a partner of this firm for many years, and my clients always want me to be doing the work. So I can't possibly see how I could delegate that away and have other people do it. You know, what do I do about that? And several of my clients, Carlos and others, had this challenge. So what you do is you say to your client who's been with you for years, call him Jack, I just wanted you to know that we've improved everything right across our firm and we can do this work for you better than ever before. However, what I need is that from now on that we have our calls, instead of calls, to be a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you a link. And every time you want to speak to me, you click on that link and you schedule a call with me, and that will give you undivided attention with me. Anything you want handling, it's straight away. Get scheduled with me on my schedule. Then when we dial into the Teams meeting, I'm going to have Michael with me. Michael knows this sector of this industry even better than I do, and he's helping me speed up everything I do so I can provide this better for you. And I need you to dial in and do it this way. Then when they dial in, what happens is there's you and Michael there, and you start the first call as usual. And Michael, you just say, could you just take note that down, take a note of this. Then the next call, what you do is you say, Michael, is there anything I've missed out here? Is there anything else that we could do better? And then have Michael start to say, yeah, what we could also do is this and this, and not forgetting that. And what you do then is you say, that's a really good point. I didn't think of that. Fantastic. And then what happens is by the third, fourth, fifth call, this guy, Michael, is chiming in more. He's leading the call more and more. What happens is Michael wins over the confidence of your client that he can handle the work as well, if not better than you. And then for the next time he books a call, you can say, I'm so sorry, I can't make this next call. But as you know, Michael will be there. He'll handle it. He'll get it all sorted for you. And then at that point, they dial in. And by then, the switch, the move has happened. The confidence has been gained with Michael, and they can then run with it without you. The client's kept happy. The client's being kept in your firm. And then you can just manage the relationship by every so often. If you wanted to send them an email or text, say, how's it going? You know, let me know if ever you're stuck, you know, you can contact or reach me. But at that point, you just pull in Michael each time to handle anything that comes up. Is that useful? Yeah. And if you don't do that, you end up taking your clients right to the end of your days. You know, how can you ever delegate away your firm? And then you end up in the law technician's valley of doom. Your firm relies on you to continue operating and be profitable. How can you possibly ever have a life? How can you ever sell it or sell your position in the firm for a decent amount of money if you're the one who, when leaves with the work, or the work can't be done? You can't cash in for your life's work. So it's really important that you implement everything I've been covering with you today, so that you move from being a technician in your firm to being somebody who actually owns it, from somebody that predominantly manages and leads others to hit their billing targets, instead of you being the one that feels you always need to be hitting yours. So I guess that concludes today's session. Unless any of you have any other question, William?
I don't have any questions, Dan. No, thank you. But really great. Sure, we can't eke any more out of anybody. You've only got him for 5 more minutes. Sorry, Dan. I tried real hard.
I know. I tried as well.
Yeah, good man.
And I know what it's like. Like you're running a law firm. You've got a lot of relationship dynamics going on. You don't want to be even speaking about someone else, even if you don't name them. I know it's difficult, but if any of you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me. I will just, whilst I'm here, I will put my LinkedIn in the chat section. Send me a connection request. Feel free to connect with me. There we go. I'll put it in the chat section so you can click on that. I'd love to hear from you. Do connect with me. And then I'm posting every day, Monday to Friday, insightful takeaways, things you can implement, run with. And if you're stuck with anything in particular, I'm always open to just getting on a call and sharing ideas. So thank you so much, Helen. This has been an absolute pleasure. You've got some real law firm owners and big action takers here. It's been an honor.
Thanks, Dan. It's been really great. And remind us when your next book's out, will you?
So it's I've got my book launch is going to be on the 10th of October in London, and that's going to be a ticketed event. So if you wanted to know more about that, then yeah, just send me a connection request.
Yeah, that would be great. And keep in touch about that, will you, Dan? And we'll mention it to members as well that it's coming up. So
that'd be brilliant. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you everyone for attending. As I said, we will send out a feedback form. Please do complete it. I know you're all busy, but it does really help us. This is something new for us, and it would be great to get some feedback to see if it's an area we can develop in terms of training. So thank you. And thank you, Chadwick Knott and Will, for sponsoring. We finally got you on the call, so that's great.
Yeah. In regards to that feedback form, it'd be great to hear what one insight did you gain that was most useful? And do you want more of that training? And that would be great to help us all gauge, and it would help me loads. Like, is this useful to you guys? I don't really know, unless I get some kind of feedback. So that'd be really helpful for all of us. Thank you, Helen.
Thanks a lot, Dan, and thanks, Will. Thanks everyone for joining, and have a great afternoon.
Brilliant. Cheers, guys.
Nice one. Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Cheers. All the best.